Hi guys and welcome. You see, we're trying a new camera trick. What did you think? As you can see, we are in studio today with Peter, and I think we're going to have a very fun day. We've got lots of things that he's brought into studio, so I'm a little bit scared, but I'm going to try not to be. So what are we chatting about today?
Before that, how was your week?
It was very good, thanks. Other than I've had a bit of flu.
I know, you look flu-y.
I know, I look a bit, everyone keeps saying, you look a bit pale. I know I am pale. Hey.
I had a wonderful afternoon this afternoon. I met, I train a cricket team, believe it or not. And this afternoon, we've just had such a successful season that this afternoon we ended our season with a fantastic lunch together. And the guy said to me, "Sir, you've got to tell our jokes today." So all the jokes that are coming today are coming from my cricket team. So if the guys are
they better be good, guys. They better be good.
Yeah, we had to screen some of them. But they're good guys, so there was nothing really kind of bad. But while we were there, in this restaurant, there were two girls that walked in. Now you can imagine a room full of guys and
cricket
two
boys
girls walk in. Okay? And they had an accent. So the one guy goes up to them and says, ladies, what accent do you have? Scottish? And the girl said, no, Wales. So he said, oh, I'm sorry, Wales, what accent do you have?
That's very good, Peter. No, that was very good. Tebogo, don't laugh because then the camera's going to shake.
Okay, Tebogo's not allowed to laugh.
No.
Tebogo's our cameraman.
He's not allowed to, else he's going to be moving.
Right guys, today we are going to go around all over South Africa because we're looking at map work. Our main topic is all about scales and measuring different distances. So after the break we're going to be back and we're going to be traveling, I think, from Johannesburg to Durban.
I'm excited.
So come back, go have a bit of break. I think a bit of
a bunny chow. Hey, if we're traveling from Joburg to Durban, might as well. Let's keep
have a bunny chow. Get into the actual sense of the program.
Get some surf shorts on, and we'll see you after the break. Hi guys and welcome back. I hope you're all ready for today's lesson, grade 11s. Don't forget to chat to us on facebook.com/learnextra, also on Twitter @learnextra. We've got lots of exciting things happening today. You know, you can always be entertained by Peter, see what tricks are up his sleeve. Let's get straight to his lesson. Take it away, Peter.
Right. Today we said we're talking about scale drawing. Now what is a scale? Believe it or not, but you use scale nearly every day of your life, okay? Now, we're going to be looking at the scales in a map, but before we do that, let's look at other types of scales, or discuss other types of scales. Right, so, if I were to pull out my cell phone, which I don't have on me because we're not allowed to have them on in the studio, otherwise my mother talks to me while I'm trying to talk to you. But if I were to put out my cell phone, and go to my pictures, there you would find a picture of my wife, okay? Small little picture. And that small little picture shows her from the top of her head down right through to her toes. But it's only that big. But now guys, I want to tell you something. My wife is not that big, okay? She's a little bit bigger than that. If she were that big, then maybe I could give her orders, but she's not that big, so she gives me orders. She's about this big, right? And yet, when I look at that tiny little picture on my cell phone, I recognize it's her. Why? Because it's in exactly the same proportion as she is. Her eyes on the picture are in the same position as her eyes in real life. Okay? Her thin little sexy body is the same thin little sexy body in the picture as what it is in real life. But the difference is the one is bigger than the other. But they're in proportion. In other words, that's another type of scale that I'm dealing with, right? Big person, tiny little person. Same thing, but just as a different, or in a different proportion, different scale. You guys know as well, when you're at school, sometimes your teachers, depending what school you're at, might use an overhead projector, where they put a little diagram on the machine and it shows up on a screen. Or maybe you're lucky enough to be in a school that actually has a computer system, and you have a data projector, which takes the image from our little TV screen and now puts it onto a big white wall that you can actually see everything. In fact, here's a great example. If you look at this screen behind me, okay, this screen behind me, what is on here can fit onto this little, and I'm going over this side, onto this little computer over here. So we have a tiny little screen over there, and then, and I'm walking back there, we have a big screen over here. Now you can see that the two screens are not the same size at all. Not at all. But they contain the same data. It's just different scales. Understand that? Here's a good thing. At the moment, you're watching me on TV. Now, some of you have a TV that's about this size. Okay? Now, guys, I got a little reality check for you. I can't fit into a box that size. Okay? I'm a little bit bigger than that. And no comment, lady. All right?
I can imagine, Peter, you need to go, let me out, let me out.
Oh, sorry,
hey?
okay. So this TV is about this big. I can't fit into that TV, right? So what you see now is a scale of the real thing, okay? Much, much, much smaller than the real thing, if you know what I mean. Okay, are we clear on that? Do you understand that?
No, I do.
Okay, great. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at some maps and some scales. Before we do that, let's just discuss the type of scales that you get on a map. Now, there are two types that we deal with in mathematical literacy, and in fact, even in geography. So those of you guys who do geography, this is a great thing for you to watch, especially to help you with your map work section. All right, so two types of scales. The first scale is something called a bar scale, and we've just gone somewhere else. There we go, a bar scale. Now, what is a bar scale? A bar scale, and we'll show you later on a map, is actually just what it says. It's a bar, okay? It's a little bar that's got a certain length. So if I were to draw a bar scale for you, I would say a bar scale could be something like this. Now, please understand, I don't have a ruler, so things could look a little sad, okay? Here is my bar scale. And on that bar scale, we could give you, and let me use a different color, a certain length. And we could say, oops, I don't know where that line came from. We could say the length of that bar scale from that point to that point is, let's say, for example, 5 centimeters. In other words, a bar of that distance represents 5 centimeters. Now I could look at my map and say every time I can fit a bar in of that length, it means I'm traveling 5 centimeters on the map, okay? Or what I could say is, you know what, this thing is 5 centimeters, but it actually represents 10 kilometers. Wait, now you know that that little distance isn't really 10 kilometers in real life, but that little distance represents 10 kilometers on a map. So now I go to a map, and every time I can measure a little distance of, let's say, 5 centimeters, every 5 centimeters represents 10 kilometers in real life. Number scale. What is a number scale? Well, it's just what the name says. It's a number, and it's to do with the scale. So let's have a look at that. Now, we can write a number scale something like this. 1 is to 50,000. Well, what's that mean? That actually means that 1 unit on the, or 1 little centimeter on the map would represent 50,000 units or 50,000 centimeters in real life. So 1 unit on the map represents 50,000 in real life. Now, my boys always say to me this, so 1 watt represents 50,000 watts. Well, it really doesn't matter. We could say 1 millimeter represents 50,000 millimeters in real life. We could say 1 centimeter represents 50,000 centimeters in real life. We could even go as far as saying one length from my elbow right through to this part of my body. What's this? A wrist. That's right. So one length from my elbow to my wrist represents 50,000 of those same distances in real life. We could even go further and be silly about it and say one length of my tongue, okay, one length of the tongue on the map represents 50,000 lengths of my tongue on the map. Okay? So it doesn't matter as long as my units are the same. If this is centimeters, that's got to be centimeters. If this one is in, I don't know, trillion, there's no such unit as trillions. Okay, if it's one, let's say length of the arm, then this has got to be in the form of lengths of the arm. Do we understand that? Now that's an important concept to understand. Because if you understand that, sheesh, then you're already halfway through to mastering this whole concept of graph work. Now, sorry, of map work. What am I saying graph work for? Okay. Now, what we're going to do is the following. I've got a map of South Africa here, and it's a huge map, eh? It's huge. So big that I can't hold it and talk about it. So I'm going to ask Indiana to come forward, and she's going to hold up this map for us, or try anyway, and then we're going to talk about it.
You know what we're going to do first, Peter, because I love interrupting Peter. We're going to take a short break, and then when we get back, you'll get to see me holding up the map. I'm very excited. I need to prepare myself.
I wanted to see all the viewers to see you come around.
I know, I'm going to, guys. So if you want to see me holding the map, which is all very exciting, stay tuned, and we'll be back with you after the break. Hi guys, and welcome back to Mindset Learn Extra. As you can see, I've been upgraded and I'm now designated map holder for Peter. Peter, come and chat to us and tell us what's happening on this here map.
All right, folks. Huge map, hey?
Huge.
Absolutely huge. And it's everything to do, in fact it is a map of South Africa. But you know, and I know, that that map is not really the same size as South Africa, okay? Because it's not the same size as South Africa, we know there has to be some sort of scale involved with this whole thing. So if we look at the map, we are going to try and find out the scale of this map. In other words, we are going to try and find what does 1 centimeter on the map actually represent in real life. And that's what we're going to do. So I'm looking at this map, and there, right in the corner, I see a scale. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk that side, and we're going to look at our scale. Here's our scale right at the bottom here. And can we see that? We've got a good shot of that. Now, there's 2 parts to the scale. The first part is our word scale, all right, or our number scale, which says scale is 1 is to 1,500,000. In other words, the person who made this map has already made life so much easier for us, because they've told us, listen, 1 centimeter on the map represents 1,500,000 centimeters in real life. What they're also telling us is this, that 1 meter on the map would represent 1,500,000 meters in real life. Do we understand that? So this map has really been made easy for us because they've given us the scale. So let's write up the scale. We said 1 represents 1,500,000. Okay? 1 what? We discussed it before break. Either 1 centimeter represents 1,500,000, or 1 meter represents 1,500,000, or even 1 millimeter represents 1,500,000 in real life. Okay, now, in the past weekend, what I will say is this, that, you know, we live in a wonderful country, and our country has got all kinds of nature reserves and game reserves, and you can see all types of wild animals in these reserves. Or you can go to Durban, because my mother-in-law is there, and you can see her. So this last weekend, I had the opportunity of traveling down to Durban And then we visited my mother-in-law. So we travelled from Johannesburg, because that's where we currently are, and we travelled all the way down to Durban. Now, what I want to stress is this. I'm going to pretend that I didn't travel by car, that I actually flew directly from Joburg all the way down to Durban, okay, in a straight line. Okay? We're not going to worry about the twists and the turns, because that brings a whole different dimension. Our whole idea today is really, do we understand how scales work? So we're going to pretend the road from Joburg to Durban is a straight one, okay? And then we'll take it from there. So we're going to go to our map, and I'm going to ask Indiana to lift it a little bit. Now, it's quite funny, because if she lifts us a bit up over her head there, it's a much better picture, okay? And it's actually quite dark down there at the back there.
It's quite nice.
Is it?
Hey,
Okay.
he just doesn't, he wants to take all the limelight here, I think.
Okay, so it gets quite dark,
Is that
dark
good?
at the back there.
Is
It
that
reminds
good?
me about two guys. Two guys were actually in a room, and the lights went out. Where am I talking? Oh, here I am.
There
Two
you are,
guys
there
were
you
in
are.
a room, okay? And the lights went out, and the one guy says to the other guy, geez, it's quite dark in here. And the other guy says, I don't know, I can't see a thing. Okay, so let's have a look. Up here is Johannesburg, right over there, at that very point there. Durban is down yonder, okay, right over there. So guys, we know that one unit that I measure is going to be equivalent to 1,500,000. So here's a good question. How far is Durban from Joburg? Let's see if we can answer that by looking at this map and using the scale. Okay. Incidentally, I hope there are matrics out there watching this, because this is a great kind of matric question. Remember matrics, okay, and grade 11s, we can test the same sort of thing because the syllabus is so similar. In fact, we start the grade 12 syllabus in grade 11. So if you're in grade 12 watching this, this is a fantastic type of question. You could get in an exam at the end of the year. Right, so I'm going to measure the distance. So we're going to measure straight from Joburg all the way down to Durban. Now, it's kind of difficult to do it on this map because it's a little bit floppy. So what I'm going to do is we're going to lay it down flat on the table. And then that way as well we can see your face behind there. So let's do that. So,
see, I suppose I'll just move my computer for you. Just hold on, hey?
all right. And we're going to turn the map a little bit to make life a little bit easier for
everyone
okay.
involved.
So folks, Johannesburg over here, Durban over there. How far is that? So let's take our ruler, and we're going to take this and we're going to measure from Durban all the way through to Johannesburg over there. We're going to pretend we traveled from the center of Johannesburg. Okay, now where has Durban disappeared to? There she is there. Okay, so Durban on our map, we're measuring all the way through to Johannesburg over there is around about 33 centimeters. Would you agree on that?
That's close. I would agree. Or even...
Well, this is not a real life size map, woman.
33 and a half if we're taking to the middle of Roodepoort.
Okay, but we're going Joburg.
Okay.
Centre of Joburg,
Okay,
right?
okay, centre.
So 33 centimeters. Right, so let's move and do a bit of a calculation here now. Right, so we know 33 centimeters was our distance. Here it is. Okay, centimeters. Now, how am I going to get, what did I do to get that one to 33? I multiplied by 33. So I said 1 times 33 gives me 33. So I'm going to do the exact same thing this side. I am going to say 1,500,000 times 33. And that's what we're going to do here. Okay? So times 33. Why? Because what I did over there, I've got to do to this side. This side, I said 1 times 33. So I've got to do the same this side. 1,500,000 times 33. Why? Because what I do there, I've got to do there. Imagine, and I've used this example before as well, but I always use it because I enjoy it. Imagine if you've got a little brother, Okay? And your mom and dad come home and they sit you down and they say, you know what, my boy, we've decided that we are going to give Rodney an additional 1,000 Rand pocket money a month. Oh, you get all excited now because you know what the brother gets, you're going to get. But your parents say, well, that's all we wanted you to know, and they walk off. Okay? You'd be devastated. You'd feel unloved. Okay? Oh, I'm getting flashbacks from my childhood. But you would feel absolutely unloved. No one loves me. But if they said, look, we're giving your brother more pocket money, so you know what? We're going to do the same to you. Then there's a bit of fairness going on. And that's what we're doing here. We're saying we multiplied that side by 33 to get 33. We're going to multiply this side by 33 to get 33. All right. Now, all we've got to do is find a calculator, which we just do not have. So let's have some fun here, shall we? Let's find a calculator. So we're going to go over there, and I'm going to say calculator, all programs, calculator, accessories, we just need a basic little calculator.
Or, I mean, you could have also just asked me. I also have a calculator.
You just have a calculator.
I have a calculator on my computer.
Well,
I know he's found one. And guys,
So,
it's not the fancy one you're used to. So he's found the built-in calculator. So take it away, Peter. You can do it.
Okay, so we've got 1,500,000. We're going to multiply it now by 33. And we're going to land up with this huge number. I don't know if you can see that on the screen. It's so big. So we've actually got 49 million. Whoops, here we go. 49 million. And what did our calculator say? 49,500,000. So 49,500,000. 500,000 what? Centimeters. Okay? This unit centimeters, that unit has also got to be in centimeters. So quite an interesting distance. So I actually traveled last week a very, very far away. I traveled 49,500,000 centimeters. Well, that doesn't kind of make sense, does it? You can't actually visualize it. So I think we should change it to kilometers, and that's what we're going to do. Now, how many centimeters are in a meter? There are 100. Agreed? So let's knock off 100 here, or divide by 100, and we're going to say now, what do we have? We now have 495,000 meters. Okay? I've lost my pen. I found it again. Now, how many meters in a kilometer? There are 1,000. So, if I divide by 1,000, I'm going to land up with a distance of 495 kilometers. That's how far Joburg is from Durban. Okay. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're sitting there thinking, no, it's not. The other day I looked up and it said it was about 580, 590, somewhere there. So how come I've only got 495 kilometers? It's quite simple. Remember I told you I'm not following the roads, we're measuring the direct distance. So if I got in a car, okay, and drove like my mother-in-law from Joburg to Durban and just went over everything in one straight line, I would only be traveling 495 kilometers. Okay. Can we see how useful this map has been? So nobody told me the direct distance between Joburg and Durban, but I was able to calculate it. How? By using my scale. Are we clear on that? Okay. Let's do the same exercise again, but this time we're going to use that bar scale and see if we get more or less the right answer. Now, I'm taking a huge gamble doing this, because normally when I do in the classroom, we're kind of out. So here I'm on live TV, and I'm now going to try and prove something. So cross your fingers, and let's hope it works. So, bar scale. We know that we are going to find a bar, and it's going to tell me a certain distance of that bar, right? It's going to tell me that the distance for that length of line represents a certain distance. So let's go over to our map and let's try and figure this one out again. And I'm going to ask Indiana again, if she wouldn't mind. We're going to move all the way off here now. Right, here is my bar scale. Now, the scale, word scale, 1 is to 1,500,000. We've used it. Now what we're going to do is we told the length of this line over here, okay, from where it's 0 to 100 kilometers. That distance represents 100 kilometers. Well, how long is that distance? Let's measure it, shall we? So we're going to take a ruler, we're going to measure. Let me do it this side because then the camera will be able to see it a lot easier. So from the distance all the way through there is round about 65 millimeters or 6.5 centimeters. Okay, so a little less than that, but we'll work on 6.5. So can you remember that, 6.5?
I will remember it and I will write it down just for you.
So we know that 6.5 centimeters represents 100 kilometers. So let's go back to our screen over here. So I now know that or how much was it? 6.5, eh?
6.5.
6.5 centimeters represents 100 kilometers. Do you remember? That's what it said on the map. It said this little distance is 100 kilometers. So 6.5 centimeters represents 100 kilometers. So what does 1 centimeter represent? Well, how did I get that 6,5 to being 1? I divided by 6,5. So 1 centimeter represents 100 divided by 6,5. Okay? Are we clear on that? I think it's straightforward. It kind of makes sense. It makes sense to me. Hopefully it makes sense to you. By the way, if you don't know what I'm actually talking about, please feel free to email us or BBM us or whatever.
Facebook us, tweet us, let us know, send us pictures, send us comments, anything really.
Okay, so you can Facebook or Twitter us. Let us know the problem, and then maybe I'll be able to answer some of your questions. Okay, so far now, we're using our bar scale. We've said 1 centimeter represents 100 over 6,5. Now, when we measured the distance from Johannesburg to Durban, do you remember we got 33 centimeters? Okay, so then let's check. 33 centimeters. Now, how did I get the 1 to be 33? Multiplied by 33. And what I do on one side, I do to the other side. So let's multiply this now by 33. So I've got 100 over 6,5, and I'm going to multiply it by 33, and let's see what kind of answer we actually get. So I'm going to bring up my calculator again. Let's clear everything, and let's do this. We're going to say 100, oops, no, that's 1,000, so let's just kill that. 100. In fact, let's just move this over into the middle. The producer's shouting in my ear, so let's do as she says. So we've got 100. We're going to divide it now by 6.5, and then we're going to multiply it by 33. Now, folks, we should get an answer close on 400 and something kilometers, if you remember correctly. So equals, and there I get an answer of 507 kilometers. Okay, now, what distance did we get when we used the other scale? Let's have a look. 495 kilometers. So we were actually only 12 kilometers out. Now, guys, that's not bad, hey? That really is not bad. Because remember, it was very difficult for me to be 100% accurate with this clumsy ruler and huge big map and all that. The map they give you in an exam will be a nice, tiny, small one. You'll have a wonderful little ruler. You'll be able to measure accurately. And here's the good thing. The examiners actually allow for a little bit of error. They allow for a margin of error. So let's say the distance is 33, but we actually measure 32 or measure 34. You know what? The examiner's going to say, you know what, this guy knows what he's doing, man. Let's allow that little bit of error. We're going to give him full marks. Okay? So on our number scale, we got 495. On our bar scale, we got 507. Geez, guys, that is so close. Okay? Do you remember as well when I was measuring, I said, oh, it looks like it round about 6.5. It might even have been 6,6. It wasn't really 100% accurate, which is silly of me, huh? But that's how we do it. Do you understand? So we've used the same map, but we've used different scales to figure out the answer. Okay? And in your exam, if they give you both scales, you are allowed to use both to try and find out the final answer. Here's something I want to bring to your attention. If I had a map Now, hopefully, I know I've got one here somewhere, so let me just find it quickly for you. Yeah, here we go. Is it this one? I think it could be the next one. No, I've got it on the next one. So if I were to give you this map of, right, here we go. Yeah, I've got a map of the central Johannesburg. Now, I know it's not very clear on your screen, but that's fine. Don't panic about it. The two things I want to bring up to your attention are this. First of all, there's a word scale that says this map is 1 is to 12,500. In other words, 1 unit on the map represents 12,500 units in real life. It also gives us a bar scale or a picture of that distance. So there's my bar scale, and it's that length over here. Were I to reduce this map, now I don't know if this is going to allow me to do it. In fact, it's not going to allow me to do it. But were I to reduce this whole map, the words are going to stay the same, aren't they? The numbers will stay the same. It's still going to say scale is 1 is to 12,500. But the actual bar is going to diminish. So as I reduce the picture, so the bar scale also reduces. So guys, in times like that, the best scale to use is your bar scale, because it's also going to reduce as your map reduces, or it's also going to get bigger as your map gets bigger. But the number scale is going to stay the same the whole time. And so when we're reducing maps or photocopying maps, sometimes it's better, in fact it is better to use our bar scale, because the difference in the map is going to be the same as the difference in that bar scale.
Fantastic. You know that I love the center of town. So when you brought up that map, I thought, oh, I know exactly where everything is.
Okay, cool. So at least you know something.
I know. Guys, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to roll this here map up, or are we still busy with it?
We finished with that map. We're going to a smaller one.
Okay, fantastic. Good. Yay for smaller maps, guys. We're going to take a quick break and we'll see you back right now. Hi guys, and welcome back. I told you it was going to be a short break. I just want to go over a few things on the page quick. I know Tumaleng says he's a bit confused in which chapter of maths is this literacy is that on. And it apparently, according to Peter, it's on scales. Scales. So guys...
And map work.
And map whip. So guys, there's no such thing as a silly question. Please post any questions you may have on the Facebook page. We are entering our last 15 minutes of the show. So if you do have any questions, now is the time to get them in. Now I don't want to take any more time away from Peter. So Peter, take it away.
Indiana, you know there is a silly question. Remember that? Guys, there's always a silly question. And that's the question you ask after you've written your final matric exam. Because then there's nothing we can do. But until that time, you write that final matric exam, ask all the questions you want, because then we can answer, and then we can actually help you out. Now, before break, I actually said to you, if I enlarge a map or reduce a map, the bar scale is also going to enlarge or reduce. Now, while we had the break and Indiana was drinking water and having a wonderful makeup session, I actually found another map here for us. Let's have a look at this. This just shows the scale. It's not of a map. It's actually of some kind of building or a room or something like that. But that's not important. What I want to show you is this. If you look here, you can see we have a scale. And the scale is saying that the distance from this point over here to that point is round, that represents 10 meters. Now I want to show you something. As I make the map bigger, now hopefully this will work, there it's working, can you see the map getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger? Look what's happening to the scale. It also got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Now let's make it small and see what happens to the bar scale. Here we go, and we're going smaller, 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 smaller. There it is over there. Can you see what happened to my bar scale? It also got very, very small. In other words, the bar scale reduced in proportion to what the map actually produced. That's an important concept, okay? So here's a good question. Which scale is more reliable, the number scale or the bar scale? You know what, guys? Definitely the bar scale. Because you do need to realize that if I wrote words here, can you see these words? Okay, there they are. No matter what size I make this map, Okay, now I'm just floating it around the screen. No matter what size I make it, the words don't change. So if I had a word scale of 1 is to 50,000, whether the map is this big or whether it is right down this small, the words would stay the same. Gee, that's got very small now, eh? And the map, the bar, is just as small. All right, enough playing around. Let's get back to some serious business. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at another map, and we're going to measure the distance between 2 points on that map. And we are actually going to see whether this map, or we're going to try and figure out whether on this map we're going to use whether the bar scale and the number scale are correct. Okay? In other words, we're going to try and say, is the map we're going to use now to scale? Let's have a look. So here I am now. And we've got a little picture or a little diagram of Rustenburg, okay? And what we're going to do is I'm going to try and measure the distance of 2 points. And I'm just choosing any 2 random points. I'm going to choose a beacon point over here and a beacon point over there. Now, what is a beacon point? Well, generally, a beacon is like something that you find on top of a little hill. It gives you the height of that hill and things like that. And a lot of people who use these try and measure distances from one beacon to the other. That's what we're going to do now. Okay, so I have a beacon. I have a much more...
Do you want to move it? Oh, yeah. Come, move up, move up.
It's going to look like...
There you go. Oh, you need that.
Okay, so, yeah.
You
All
do.
right, so we're going to measure the distance from that beacon to that beacon. And I'm going to do it with my ruler, and hopefully my ruler is 100% correct. And we're going to measure this distance, and I'm measuring it, and I get around about 14,8 millimeters, okay? So, 14,8 centimeters. So the distance between one point and the other point is a nice, what did we say? 14,8 centimeters. Right, now let's go to the board and let's play around with it. Before we do that though, while we've got the cameraman here, let's just use them. Let's have a look at our scale. I'm looking for a scale. Can you see a scale on this map?
I'm looking.
Okay, I can see a scale here that tells me a number scale is 1 is to 50,000. In other words, 1 centimeter on the map represents 50,000 centimeters in real life. Got it?
Got it, good.
Over here, here now we have a actual number scale, right? And it's actually telling me, bar scale, and it's actually telling me the distance of 1,000 meters. Right, we're going to come back and measure that just now, because I think we've got quite a bit here to try and figure out and remember. So we said 14,8 centimeters, and we're using a scale of 1 is to 50,000.
Okay, 1 is to 50,000.
I've lost my other pen.
Don't worry. Is this the one you're looking for?
That's what I'm
there
looking for.
There it is.
Thank you. Right, so our scale was 1 is to 50,000. Cool. We measured a distance of 14,8 centimeters.
See, you don't actually even need me to remember stuff for you.
So, how did I get that 1 to 14,8? I multiplied by 14,8. So I'm going to do the same this side. I'm going to take this 50,000 and multiply it by 14,8 as well. We're going to take our calculator and we're going to say, right, let's do this very sum. I'm moving my calculator down so I can see what I'm doing. Hopefully you can still see it. So I've got 50,000. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to multiply it by 14,8. 14.8 equals, and I get an answer here of 740,000. Okay, so 740,000 what? Well, that was in centimeters, so this is also going to be in centimeters. So the distance from the one beacon to the other beacon is 740,000 centimeters. Sure. Okay. What's that in kilometers? Well, to change it to meters, we're going to divide by 100. So we're going to get 7,400 meters. What's that in kilometers? Divide by 1,000 and we get 7,4 kilometers. Right, now folks, here comes the real challenge. Is our scale, is the map to scale? So we're going to go back to the map and we are now going to look at that bar scale. So let's do that. So here we are again. And now what I'm going to do, I've got a different ruler. I think this one is a little more accurate. This little distance here, okay, from the 0 to the 1 represents 1,000 meters. So I'm going to measure this distance, and I've got it from there all the way there. And you know what it's telling me? That 2 centimeters represents 1,000 meters. Okay? So 2 centimeters on my bar represents 1,000 meters. Let's go back and let's have a look at this. 2 centimeters represents 1,000 meters. Okay. Huge problem, huge problem. What's my huge problem? I'm dealing with centimeters and I'm dealing with meters. I can't do that. Remember, for scale, let's get the same unit. So let's do that. So I'm going to say then that 2 centimeters represents, let's change that to centimeters. There are 100 centimeters in a meter. So I've got 100,000 centimeters. Okay. So what's 1 centimeter represent? Well, if 2 represents 100,000, 1 centimeter on the map must represent 50,000 centimeters in real life. Does this make sense? Of course it does. Now, do you remember when we measured that distance on the map? It was 14,8 centimeters.
It was
okay.
Indeed.
All right. So
Well done.
14,8 centimeters. There's nothing like waiting for Indiana. We go on to next week's show. Okay, 1 centimeter, we're changing it to 14,8. How did I get the 1 to 14,8? I'll multiply by 14,8. We're going to do the same this side. Multiply that by 14,8. So we're going to do that, find my calculator, and I'm going to say, right, let's clear all that. We've got 50,000. And we're going to now multiply it by 14.8. And we land up now with an answer of 740,000. Okay, so 740,000 centimeters. Okay. Right. So the distance represents 740,000. Let's change it to meters. Represents 7,400 meters, and change it to kilometers. We divide by 1,000. Represents 7,4 kilometers. This is where a teacher starts to celebrate. And if I could, I would do some flips, but I'm not allowed to do that. I've been told I can't do that. So 7,4 kilometers. That's what we got when we measured the distance using used our number scale. When we did our bar scale, we got the exact answer. In other words, folks, let's have a look here. This map over here, the number scale and the bar scale, I'm getting the same answer when I measure the distance from one point of the map to the other point. So if I'm getting the same distance, then you know what I can say? This map is in the exact right proportion as it should have been. Because if it wasn't, my answers wouldn't have worked out the same. So I'm actually so relieved that this was the case. In fact, what I will say, I must be so relieved I didn't fall. When I was I nearly tripped over these cables.
I would have caught you. I would have caught you.
Which reminds me, the other day I saw a bit of a...
So chivalrous I am.
The other day I saw a horrible accident. There was a cat that was knocked over. I know, it was a catastrophe. Okay, so the maps are the same. Everything's worked out perfectly. And you know what? I think it's just such a great way to end the show on such a high note.
I think fantastic. You know what? I don't know what the chances are, and I'm probably putting you on the spot. Chris Bafana keeps asking me for a challenge question. How much time do we have left, producer? 4 minutes.
Okay, right. So
Come on, I know you can cook up a challenge question for Chris.
Okay, let's have
I
a
know
look at
you
the challenge
can.
question. then,
Yes,
shall we?
yes,
Right.
yes.
Our producer's really stressing because we've got 4 minutes and we're not allowed to take a break, and I called an air break. So you can imagine the absolute stress going on in the studio. Right, here's a challenge question. Who's this for?
For Chris Bafana.
Okay, Chris, here's a question for you. Find a map of South Africa. Okay, so let's say I've got a map of South Africa. Now, my drawing skills are not that good. In fact, to be quite honest, I was sent to detention during an art class because I drew a stick man, but his arms came out at the wrong places and I got into serious trouble for that. But nevertheless, if we look at the map of South Africa, what I want you to do, Chris, is this. Find Johannesburg on the map, then find Cape Town on the map, and then go ahead and find Durban on the map. Pretend you're a pilot, okay? And you have been instructed that for today, you are going to fly from Joburg to Cape Town, on to Durban, and then back to Joburg. So that's your flight route today. You're taking a whole lot of people to Cape Town, where they can be all happy and see Table Mountain. Then you're taking all the people off to Durban, which is hot and sweaty and humid, and it's like a nature reserve because my mother-in-law was there. And then you're flying on to Johannesburg, back to good old Joburg, okay, where everything is wonderful. So what I want you to do is this. Find that map. And this is a wonderful exercise for even matrics, because this could be a wonderful matric question. Find a map with a scale. So let's say the scale, I don't know, is 1:1,500,000. Okay? That was the scale of the huge map we used originally. Use that scale, measure these distances, and then try and calculate how far that aeroplane has flown. Remember? From Joburg to Cape Town to Durban, back to Joburg. And figure out that answer. I think that's a wonderful challenge question. So a lot of work, but boy, I tell you what, if you can do that, then you can actually do any question we give you in a matric exam, because if you understand that, you can do anything.
Good. I'm glad that you finally gave Chris Bafana a good question that he so rightly deserves. You know what we're going to do? I know it's the end of the show, but I will be posting the answer on Facebook a bit later. And Chris, I'm going to make sure that I put a map of South Africa onto Facebook with a scale that you can download onto your cell phone or your computer, and you can work it out. Grade 11s, thank you so much for a fantastic show. Grade 12s, you're on next. And see you guys same time, same place next week. Bye, guys.